Hello and a very warm welcome to this afternoon's iOB business webinar. As always, we have some amazing content lined up for you today, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us on here. We're very excited to have you here with us as we run through today's presentation. So if this is your first time joining us on an iOB business webinar, just to give you a run through of how these work. My name is Ben Porter-Smith, and I am the resident business coach here at iOB Business. Now, throughout the format of today's presentation, we're going to do a quick introduction, just you and I at the moment, like this. Then we're going to dive into a presentation for around about 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're going to finish up with a Q&A session there at the end. Okay, so if you do have any questions throughout today's webinar, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A section at the bottom there, and we will get to them at the end. Okay, so without further ado, let us get started for today's presentation. If you just give me one moment, I'm going to get us lined up for today's webinar. So you should be able to see the screen momentarily. Okay, so how digital agencies close clients. That is what we're going to be discussing today. And it is such an exciting topic that I cannot wait to cover with you. Okay, so I'm going to give it just a second to check that everybody's on with us today. Check that we have everybody here. Okay, so just before we launch today's presentation, can I just double check that everybody can hear me okay? Everybody can see the screen okay? Perfect. Okay, all looking good to get started with today's webinar then. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just going to go ahead and switch off the camera before we carry on. Okay, perfect. So how digital agencies close clients. That is our conversation for today. Okay, so what we'd like to share with you today is exactly how effective digital agencies can close clients on a regular basis. Now, if you're just a brand new digital agency, if you're an experienced, a veteran of the industry, or if you are looking to do something where you can grow into this sort of industry, closing clients is going to be one of the biggest and most crucial things that you can do as an owner of a digital agency. Okay, so that is exactly why we are covering this topic today. Okay, so your presenter today is myself. My name is Ben Porter-Smith, and I am a professional business coach. Now, what I specialize in is working with small businesses and helping them achieve stability and growth. Okay, so this is my passion, this is my love, and this is something that I have the privilege of doing every single day. Okay, so let's talk about what we're going to discuss in today's session. Number one, digital agencies who know how to close clients know their ideal client. Number two, they have established consistent lead generation to bring those prospective clients towards their business. And finally, number three, they know how to run sales meetings, okay? These are all crucial components of closing clients as a digital agency. Now, let's begin with topic number one. They know their ideal client, okay? Now, first thing that digital agencies do, okay? So the reference I'm going to use throughout this webinar, you're going to see me saying a lot, they have, okay? Now, I refer to it specifically in this context because I'm showing you what these successful digital agencies have done and exactly how they are closing clients today, tomorrow, and every day after that because they have perfected their formula. So the very first thing that they have done, they have cemented their core offerings. Now, if you're not familiar with what a core offering is, it's something that a business has developed specifically to suit their ideal target demographic or clientele, okay? They know who they are and what they do as an agency. They have put this into a very specific offer for the price, for the time, for the effort that goes into these things, and they know that it is exactly what their prospective client wants, exactly what their prospective client needs. But more importantly, they know that they themselves as a digital agency can conduct this offer extraordinarily effectively, okay? The second thing that they have done, they have isolated the demographics of their ideal client, okay? They have chosen the age range of their ideal client. They have chosen the business type of their ideal client. They have chosen the geographical location of their ideal client. They have chosen the personality traits and right down to the exact business specifications and needs of their ideal client. They know exactly who it is. Now, the reason that this is so relevant is because this journey starts before actually closing the client. In order to close a client, we must first understand who the ideal client is. And this is going to run into effect when it comes to the marketing, the lead generation, the prospecting phase, and the sales meeting. It all begins with knowing who your ideal client is. So they have cemented their core offerings and they have isolated the demographics of their ideal client. This is absolutely crucial. Next, they have conducted market research and analysis, okay? They understand their market, they understand the audience, they understand the consumer behavior of who it is that they're trying to sell to. The reason that they have to conduct this market research in such a thorough manner is because before conducting lead generation, before conducting marketing, they need to know who their market actually is. What do they listen to? Who do they listen to? Why do they listen to them? What sort of businesses do they choose to work with? Why do they choose to work with these kinds of businesses? They're analyzing who it is that they're looking to sell to, and they're understanding how to speak to them. This is such intense targeting that it makes it very, very difficult for them to have no success in their campaigns, okay? So when they're doing something like this, they're putting an immense amount of effort, an immense amount of time to figuring out what their core offerings are, who their demographic of the ideal client is, and how they can conduct market research and thorough analysis. And the final thing that they have done is they have assessed affordability, desire, and necessity in the market. Now, these are three key things here that have to be worked on and focused on when you're looking to sell to anyone, another business, another individual, whoever it is. Now, the first thing, affordability. This has to be assessed because we have absolutely no purpose in advertising to people who simply cannot afford our offering as a digital agency, okay? So whether it's a business, whether it's an individual, B2C or B2B, it doesn't matter. If they can't afford it, they can't afford it. Now, we do this using common logic. Let's say that we have a low value or low ticket item at £100 a month, okay? Now, generally speaking, in business terms, this is pretty affordable. So we know that anywhere from micro businesses to small businesses to startups could afford this £100 a month offering. It's not that expensive. If we're looking at something a little bit more high ticket, let's say £1,000 a month, okay? In business terms, again, that's not massively expensive, but it's also not necessarily on the cheaper side of the spectrum. Therefore, leading us to believe that startups, micro businesses, they might not be able to afford this. So we have to really start looking at bigger businesses, maybe a large sort of small business. I know that sounds contrary, but essentially a small business can also be, in effect, a very large business of sorts. So they're looking at businesses with higher levels of affordability, okay? The next thing that we have is desire. Now, they need to have a desire to make a change in their business. The ideal target, the ideal demographic, the ideal person or business has to have a desire to want to make a significant change in their business. So let's say that you're a digital agency that's offering something like paid advertising. Okay, now if you are offering paid advertising, you need someone who has an ambition and a desire to sign more clients. Okay, they want to spend more money because they want to make more money. If this desire is not there, you're going to have a very hard time convincing someone that it's what they need. And finally, the necessity in the market, okay? Is there an actual need, an actual requirement for what it is that you sell? And if so, where is it in the market? Okay, if you're offering paid advertising for a niche, like a service-based business, maybe a bricks and mortar store, they must need this from you in order to take it, because very, very rarely will someone go and do something in a business sense they don't actually need. We do most things out of necessity, which is in a way difficult to achieve sometimes because a lot of this kind of decision making should be done with logic and not always necessity. But the bottom line is, if someone doesn't need it, they're much more unlikely to actually buy it. Okay, so that is the key message to take home from topic number one. So this moves us on really nicely to topic number two, where we're speaking about the fact that they have established consistent lead generation. Okay, the first thing that they have done, they have completed a financial assessment for their lead generation capabilities. Now, it's just as important to know yourself and your business as well as you know your target market, your demographics, etc. Everything that we discussed in topic one, you must carry through this kind of assessment, this kind of intelligence into your own business. Okay, what these businesses have done, they have completed a financial assessment for their own lead generation capabilities. Now, what we mean here, okay, so let's say that we're looking at something like Google advertising. They're going to use this as lead generation to bring new leads, new prospects towards their business, okay? Now, in order to do this, they need to first check, okay, well, how much can we afford to spend on advertising, okay? So if a lead generation campaign is done well, if an advertising campaign is done well, it should normally ROI, a return on investment, higher than what has been spent. So let's say that you spend £1, you get £2 back. This is really the goal to any extent. This is just an example of £1 versus £2. It could be higher, it could be lower, okay? But the point here is that they're first figuring out how much money can we spend? How much money can we afford to spend on advertising just to get us started until we start seeing money coming back in, okay? This is the financial side of things, okay? There's many other things that come into play here, like skill, capability, how skilled are they at setting up paid advertising campaigns, have they assessed their targeting, etc. But the very first thing that they have done to establish consistent lead generation is conduct a financial assessment for their lead generation capabilities. How much money do we have to spend on advertising as a business? Okay. Next thing they've done is they've established optimal forms of lead generation in line with their skill set and capability. Now, this brings us to the multiple variations and forms of lead generation that exist in today's world, okay? So just a few examples here. We have Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, WhatsApp ads, Bing ads, YouTube ads, okay? We have bark.com for lead purchasing. We have organic marketing. We have SEO. We have countless forms of lead generation that we could work through, okay? So what these businesses have done is they have established optimal forms of lead generation in line with their skill set and their capability. Okay, so they themselves or their team, who has the best skill set and where can it be applied? Does someone in a team or themselves have a specific skill in paid advertising? Are they capable of conducting a fantastic campaign? Are they more comfortable with organic marketing, email writing, blog writing, SEO, that kind of thing, okay? But what they've done here is they've completed a financial assessment for their lead generation capabilities. They've also figured out as a company, as a business, what the most optimal form of lead generation is for them in line with their own skill set and their capability. The next thing they've done is they have understood how their prospects like to interact with their business. Okay, now there's a few examples I'm going to talk through here with you. We could use landing pages, we could use social media, or we could use Google. Now, these are three of multiple forms of lead generation, okay? Now, these three examples are here for a very specific reason, okay? They understand how their prospects like to interact with their business. So we're talking about an actual consumer here as a business or as a person, as a leader of a business, however you like to look at it, okay? Now, the reason that this is so relevant is because we need to understand how the type of people that are going to buy our service offering like to learn from us, like to absorb our content, and like to book a meeting with us, ideally, okay? So we might find that we like to utilize landing pages on our website or out with our website to draw the attention of our prospects, because we see large amounts of success from split testing, etc., that these clients and prospective clients will come to our landing pages and they prefer to read in-depth information and then book a meeting from us or buy from us, okay? Sometimes on social media, it's more preferable to locate our ideal target demographic, our ideal prospect over there. The reason might be that this particular demographic spends a lot of time on Facebook, a lot of time on Instagram, a lot of time on WhatsApp, YouTube, wherever they spend a lot of their time, this might be more relevant to them. So let's say that we were doing something like trying to promote YouTube advertising as a company, as a digital agency, we might have a better shot at finding them on somewhere like YouTube or Facebook, for example, okay? Somewhere where this form of advertising already exists. And finally, we have Google, okay? So Google can apply to a few different things. We could look at Google Ads, we could look at SEO, we could look at blog writing, Google My Business, all the different kinds of advertising that comes in with Google, okay? So there might be a particular demographic that you simply want to be found from by a search result in Google. If you want somebody to type into the search bar, digital agency Bournemouth, or digital agency Leicester, or digital agency Glasgow, and you want to show up for this kind of result, then you'd be working on your paid advertising and you'd be working on your SEO with Google, okay? So there's multiple different ways in which customers and prospects can interact with you, but ultimately you need to understand how they interact with you the most and how they prefer to interact with you more importantly. And finally, they understand how they can incentivize their prospect to book a meeting, okay? So incentivizing a prospect to book a meeting. Now, just to touch on this, we're going to cover sales meetings in topic 3. And sales meetings are one of the most effective ways that a digital agency can close a client. The reason behind this is very, very lengthy and very, very precise, okay? So what we're looking at in a sales meeting, we're building rapport, we're building credibility, we're giving the prospect an opportunity to ask questions. Now, we're going to cover all of this stuff in topic 3 today, but first of all, I want to run through this with you. So they understand how they can incentivize their prospect to book a meeting. What this means is we're not only asking them to book a meeting with us and saying, hi, come and see what we do, have a look at our services. We're actually saying to them more specifically, look, book a meeting with us because we're going to give you a free audit of your campaigns that already exist. We're going to help you stop wasting money. Or we're going to give you a free strategy session. We're going to show you how to get your marketing campaign started. We're going to help you work through that maze, that minefield that is online marketing, okay? What we're doing here is we're giving an incentive and a reason to make sure that they actually want to come and book with us, because very rarely will people actually book a meeting with us if they don't necessarily see a reason to do so, okay? So finally, we have, they know how to run sales meetings in topic 3. Okay, so as discussed, sales meetings are one of the most effective ways for digital agencies to close prospective clients. Why? Because as a digital agency, we have the option to speak with them and learn about them. Okay, now learning about somebody and building rapport is one of the single most effective ways to conduct ease, to conduct comfort, to make sure that they are in a setting where they feel like they can trust us. Okay, so once you have that trust, it becomes infinitely easier to ask them to do something. If we're going to ask them to start working with us, we need to ensure that they're actually comfortable to work with us. We need to make sure that they understand who we are and what we do as a digital agency, and more importantly, what we can do specifically to cater for that prospect, for that client, to care for their business like they want it to be cared for. Okay, so in these sales meetings atmospheres, okay, the digital agency who knows how to close clients, these are the things that they do. They listen to all concerns of the prospect and they advise or solve these problems. Now, what we're doing here by giving away our advice, by solving issues for the prospect, we're showing them not only how good we are at what we do as a digital agency, we're also showing them that we care enough to not even ask for anything in exchange for our advice right now. What this does is it massively boosts and builds credibility for us if we ever do want to come into a context where we can look at working with them on an official basis. Now, if the prospect is sitting on the other side of this sales meeting and they're thinking, well, wow, I'm getting all of this for free. Can you imagine if I were to pay them what I would get then? Okay, so this is the singular way to look at this, okay? Always give advice, always seek to solve problems, always show off what you're good at, okay? Because whether you know it or not, there's a good chance that it's actually building your rapport subconsciously to help you sell now or in the future, okay? The second thing that they do, they mirror the prospect. This is something that is such a unique sales trait, and it's something that is possessed by the most skilled salespeople that exist. They mirror the prospect, okay? So to mirror, if you're not familiar with the term, what that means is, I'm gonna go through a few examples now, okay? So let's say that the prospect is a little bit more timid and a little bit more quiet like this. Now, as the digital agency, you also want to come in a timid tone and match where they are, okay? Now, the reason that we do this is because we are not looking to intimidate or overpower or anything like this. We want to get on the same page as the prospect, okay? So if they're a little bit more quiet, you need to try and match that quiet tone. Now, if they like to elevate their voice and get a bit more animated like this, then you also need to become more animated and try and match their personality traits as well. Now, the reason that we do this, if you notice I'm back in a nice neutral tone now, the reason that they do this is again for the exact same reason. If you're quiet with a sort of more animated prospect, you're going to have a hard time building rapport bridge with them, and the vice versa, okay? We want people to believe that we're on the same page as them, and this comes right down to the subconscious behaviors that we reflect in them, okay? So we want to try and maintain eye contact. We want to use terminology that they like to use to make sure that the understanding is there. We want to mirror their actions, mirror their behavior, show them that we're on the same page as you are, okay? So if they're more animated and lively, then you should also be more animated and lively. And if they are a bit more subdued and quiet and a bit more serious, then you want to come and be a bit more subdued, a bit more quiet, and a bit more serious, okay? So I'm sure that you're following the logic here of when they're on a prospect, on a sales meeting, we want to do our best to match the behavioral traits, match the terminology, and make sure that we're saying things that align with them and understanding exactly who they are, okay? So there's a lot of social intelligence come into play here. We're understanding who the person is, how they like to behave, and looking to match that sort of behavior, okay? Now, we also have an effective talent with digital agencies who know how to close clients. They know when and how to present their offer, okay? So the cardinal rule here is you want to present your offer when it is appropriate to do so and not before. Now, there's not a specific point in time where this is going to be most relevant. It could be about the middle of the meeting if you want to discuss it, or usually and most commonly, it is at the end, okay? So what you want to do in a sales meeting, you want to give value, answer questions, make sure that the prospect is feeling comfortable and all their concerns have been alleviated. Now, best case scenario, the prospect is going to ask you how you can work with them and how they can work with you. If this is the case, you are now have the green light to go and present your offer, okay? Now, how they present it is just as important as when they present it, okay? If you jump in all eager like this and you get very excited and you're very over the top about presenting your offer, it can almost be off-putting to the prospect because they believe that you had this in the back of your mind the whole time, okay? Now, this is not what we want. What we want to do is keep a subdued formal approach, nice and light, nice and easy, and say, yep, sure, if you're interested in working with us, these are the kind of things that we can offer you. So run them through verbally what it is that you believe that you can help them with, and having listened to their concerns, having listened to what they need, okay? Once you've done this, you can say to them, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put together an official piece of paper for you, like a bit of paperwork or an email or proposal, and we're going to send this over to you so that you can know the specifics of what it is that we're looking to do for you, okay? And this is a very efficient, very effective way to display your offer to someone. If you have a brochure, you have a piece of content, you have a video or something you want to show them about how you do business, feel free to do so after the meeting, okay? But whatever you do, don't come across too eager, don't come across too loud and exciting but potentially intimidating. All we want to do is wait for them to give us the green light. We want to gently ease in our offer, and we want to make sure that we're being informative, yet brief and casual. And we want to make sure that this gets put in an official document and it gets sent over to them afterwards. Okay, so that brings us to the end of topic 3. So to recap on today's presentation, first of all, understand your target market. Second, understand how to reach them. And third, understand how to close them. Okay, these are the 3 key rules when we're looking at digital agencies who understand how to close clients. So as always, it's been a real pleasure presenting this content to you today. If you do have any questions, please don't be shy in getting them over to me. We're going to run through that now. If you'd like to go and have a look at our website, you can get to that on iob-business.com. So I will welcome your questions now. I see that I've just got one come in there. So if you give me one moment, I'm just going to go and grab that question so we can answer that on today's session. Okay, perfect. So I believe that this is from a sort of new coming digital agency, and where we're looking to go here. Where should I begin with my lead generation if I don't have a large budget? Okay, so my simple answer to this, if you don't have a large budget, you're looking at lead generation, okay, and this applies to whether you're a newly formed digital agency, whether you're an existing digital agency, whatever your position might be, okay, whether you're even looking to become a digital agency, this information is also useful to you. Okay, so something that we can look at here, if you want to begin lead generation, but you don't have a large budget, what I would like you to do is utilize your organic marketing, okay? Learn how to copywrite for blogs, utilize search engine optimization strategies, utilize your free social media, fully assess your organic marketing potential, and see if you can go from there. Okay, now if you want to delve into paid advertising, you can do that as well. But if you don't have a large budget, my honest advice here, start very, very small and start to figure out what works, okay? So try a few different things, try Facebook, try Google, try the most simple forms of paid advertising first and see if that works for you on a smaller budget. And what you can also do is look into other organic ways. So you've got blog writing, you've got SEO work, you've got other kind of organic promotions like Google My Business, and of course you have social media. So utilize these free options first, okay? So I hope that's useful. I've just had another question come in. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to go and grab this one as well. Okay, so a very, very good question here, actually. Okay, so someone I believe has experience with this has asked this question. So what should I do if I can't solve a problem for the prospect? Okay, so what I did specifically touch on when we were looking at this kind of option of giving value in a sales meeting, okay, and I explained that you should give advice or solve problems for the prospect. Now, this is a great question because it says, what should I do if I can't solve a problem for the prospect? Okay, so what we want to do here is answer accurately. Okay, now if this means recommending another expert or content bank or similar, then do this. Okay, so seek to solve the problem either by answering or giving guidance. Now, if you don't know the direct answer to a question, it can be a bit of a tricky situation to work your way through during a sales meeting, especially when you're put on the spot to do so. Okay. But essentially what you need to do here is always seek to give some sort of solution. So even if you can't directly answer the question of, okay, so let's say, well, how do I set up my paid advertising campaign? Okay, let's say that's the answer and you're unfamiliar with paid advertising campaigns for whatever reason. You can say, well, actually, I'd recommend going and having a look at this piece of content or this video content, or I'd read this guide, or I'd look at this book, okay? You don't always have to answer the question directly and give a step-by-step guide. You can be helpful in other ways. So not only will this enhance your credibility by being completely transparent and honest, your prospect will also be thankful that you haven't tried to answer a question that you actually didn't know the answer to, and instead you've tried to give them something else that can be equally as useful. So I'm just going to have a quick check and see that we don't have any other questions in for today. I believe that's where we are at the moment, and I think that is all the questions. So As always, once again, massive thank you for joining us on this iOB business webinar. It was a real pleasure presenting to you. I hope that it was valuable for you, the content that you've absorbed today, and I very much look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Take care and bye for now.